Well, folks, that's it. The royal fairy tale is officially over. When po-faced pariah Prince Harry came to London without Meghan, this week he was said to be shocked by what, without a doubt, must be ranked as the most astonishing snub in regal history. Just 2 miles from where Harry was, reduced to staying in a hotel like a commoner, King Charles in Buckingham Palace was, and I quote, too busy to see his sad sap of a treacherous son. Not even for a few minutes. The monarch's message was clear. He was emphatically siding with Queen Camilla, who, after Harry horribly branded her the villain of the story, wouldn't be seen dead in the same postcode. And as for seething sibling William and the peed-off Princess of Wales, Kate, they can't stand the sight of the ginger whinger. As a result, Harry winged into his hometown for 2 traumatic days that exposed the depth of his hurt and angry relatives' antipathy towards him. The ferocious feud triggered by Harry and Meghan's unconscionable behaviour since turning their backs on Britain has torn the King's family apart, and there is not a chance in hell of repairing the devastating damage, at least not unless Harry dumps his troublesome wife, or far more likely, she dumps him. Watch this space. But while the gruesome twosome remain a corrosive couple, make no mistake, the toxicity they have created means that any semblance of royal rapprochement is impossible. As long as their Montecito majesties keep firing their destructive exocets from sunny California like their nasty Netflix series and Harry's spiteful little book Spare, peace will never reign in the King's bitterly divided clan. Charles, who had 2 appointments while Harry was a stone's throw away, clearly concluded that solidarity with his loyal nearest and dearest who have not deserted him had to take precedence over the disloyal son who has. This was the defining moment when the famously soft-hearted sovereign got tough. His Majesty felt he finally had to draw a firm line, and he certainly did. To rub salt into humiliated Harry's wounds on the very day he learned his desire for another spot of "look at me with my dad" positive publicity, the King announced that he was making William Colonel-in-Chief of the regiment for which his brother served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan, the Army Air Corps. The timing of this poignant appointment was no accident. It conveyed to Harry in searingly blatant terms that Charles has had enough. Jubilant Brits are jubilant that their king has at long last effectively declared that he refuses to put up with Harry and Meghan's unforgivable antics anymore. With his tail between his legs, the downcast Duke of Sussex traipsed off to Nigeria to team up with his allegedly 43% Nigerian wife for their weird pretend royal tour. Thanks for nothing, Harry. Don't come back and see us soon. That's what I think. Simon, welcome to the show. Your thoughts, please.
Well, absolutely bonkers. I think that
How dare
obviously
you?
the
Well,
king,
you're fired
the king already had something in his diary.
2 things.
We don't know that they didn't spend an hour on the phone talking before that. Like, not everything is publicised.
Yeah.
So how can we say that there's been no rapprochement whatsoever?
Well, because Harry announced that the king was too busy to see him.
He said the king was too busy to see him, but if you carry on...
you think...
If you carry on and read the quote, he said, the king was too busy to see me. Hopefully we're going to get together at another time.
And you think that's a real touching family moment?
Well,
a guy flies across the Atlantic, lands in his home city. His dad's 2 miles away with 2 appointments in 24 hours, and all they manage is a call.
Well, Harry had to go to the church to do the Invictus, to do the
church?
Sort of,
that was St Paul's Cathedral.
He had to go to St Paul's Cathedral to do his thing with Invictus. His dad was doing the Buckingham Palace stuff in the garden. We know, like a lot of stepmums, stepmums and kids, he doesn't get on with his stepmum.
Yeah.
So
well,
whenever it
happens,
happens,
whenever
that
happens,
you know it's not going to be in public. It's not going to be a rapprochement for you or you. It's going to be done in private.
Simon, thank you very much for that stream of claptrap. You are going to be a great replacement for that idiot JJ Anasiobi. Alex, your thoughts, please.
Well, do you know, I heard that the last time Harry came to visit, he made demands on who could be in the room, i.e. not Camilla, not courtiers. Yeah. Prince Charles wants him there because, you know, Harry's basically like a recording device. He's the Alexa of gossip in Hollywood. So King Charles is like, well, you want to come see me? Camilla's there and all the courtiers, and you come and you know, say your piece and then you get gone. Yeah. And I just want to say, Simon, when you go and say, I don't know if your mum's, you know, where she is and if she's alive and what your relationship's like, I hope it's all bountiful and gorgeous. But if you happen to live in a different country and you were flying in to see her and she's like, well, I got to see a hairdresser and walk the dog.
Great you're over here, son. I think I can squeeze a phone
call in. Do you think that there's a bit of a frosting of your relationship?
Yeah, well, I think that with trying to make our family
hindsight, you were wrong.
Trying to make our family seem the same seem the same as theirs is kind of an impossible
look at the warm
comparison.
Between Dara and Charles.
There's no way.
The rest of them are
there
so
is no
happy.
way that you're going to get them to break long-held engagements just
Wait
for
a minute.
what
Well,
you
look,
two
look,
want
mate.
to see
Hang on.
is a photo op.
Hang on.
You want to see a family reunion.
Hang on. He's here for 48 hours, 2 days, from Tuesday to Thursday. His dad can't squeeze half an hour in. Even on Wednesday, when the King, to be fair, was hosting a Buckingham Palace garden party and he had an appointment with the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Are you telling me there's no other point in that day or yesterday, Thursday, that he could have seen him?
What does everybody want to see? Everybody wants to see the King and Harry, or hear that the King and Harry have got together and patched things up.
I want to see that little prick humiliated.
He is not going to do anything to satisfy
hang on,
us.
Alice.
Can I cast some historical context?
Go on.
I think this is important. You know the word Privy Council.
We'll be the judge of that.
The King has his Privy Council. The monarch has the Privy Council.
Yeah.
Do you know where this comes from?
Yeah, go on.
This is because the monarch is so busy they can't squeeze in appointments. And so people who wanted to get close to the monarch elected to be on the Privy Council, the Privy being the bog. They joined the King or Queen and wiped their arse while they sat on the toilet. That's how you got to be close to the monarch before in medieval times.
Yeah.
Apparently, Harry's not even worth polishing his dad's turds.
Yeah. OK, thank you very much for that. And a few words about Meghan, of course, who I always predict, I've discussed this with you before, Alex. I used to say it to JJ all the time, and I still stand by it. I don't think that woman will ever set foot in this country again, and I don't want her to, because the poison she has spread has torn our royal family apart. It's as simple as that. She's scared to come here because everybody hates her, and she went directly to Nigeria because she's 43% Nigerian.
No, she flew to the UK.
Yeah,
she flew to the UK and she waited. I know you
at the airport?
I know you two would love a Schrodinger's Meghan.
What did she do when she was in the airport?
Schrodinger's Meghan.
Planes.
Schrodinger's Meghan, where you can yell at her if she turns up, or yell at her if she doesn't turn up.
What did she do in the UK? Swap planes.
Yeah, because
that's not a visit to Britain.
Why should she be here, sort of fueling the vitriol towards her? Why does she need to do that?
Hold on, I want to know what the rest of that genealogy test says now, because if 43% is Nigerian, how much of that is secretly British?
I can tell you, she's 43% Nigerian and 57%. It's as simple as that.
You think she's sitting there in Nigeria sending emails
just because she doesn't want to follow these antiquated traditions and sort of have her own voice.
Can I just
have
her own voice?
They're short of money, aren't they? She's gone to Nigeria and she's sending emails going,
to nick some money.
I'm married to a prince who has been cut off by his family. Can you help me? We've got money we need to deposit.
I think money is the least of her worries.
Well,
self-made millionaireess before she married the prince, who has had the best-selling book on in the world.
While that absurd couple do their stupid, weird pretend royal tour of that African country, can you answer a question, Simon, since you're so friendly and close to the gruesome twosome from Montecito? When will I be able to buy anything from her website? What's it called? American Riviera Orchard. All that's happened in the, 2 months since she announced it, is a few people have been unlucky enough to receive a jar of her allegedly homemade jam.
Kevin, do you really want to buy something from her website?
No.
Well, there you go. So what are you worrying about? You're creating a problem of something you don't want to do so you can yell about it later.
I'll tell you why I don't want to buy anything from her website, because my wife has already filled our house with too many beige objects, and all she's selling is beige stuff, beige kitchen equipment, beige cushions, and
if they really wanted...
And knives and forks.
If they wanted a gap in the market, they would make some new version of Gentleman's Relish and beef dripping.
Yeah.
then the English people might be like, come on home.
But are they selling to English people? I think they're selling to an American audience. And I just think you can't. Wait there.
If you're selling
have...
to an American audience, it has to be squeezed out of a tube.
Okay. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, look at them sponging off everybody and going around with no money. And then you can't say, oh, look at them trying to make money. They've got to do one thing or the other.
I swear, if you mix that jam with like fentanyl or something and squeezed it out of a tube, the Americans would run after it.
I'd give that a whirl, actually.
Yeah, then you buy it.
But when you say that, I mean, I agree with you. They've got every right to make their own living. No, I agree with that. Good luck to them. But I don't like them making a living purely by pissing on our royal family. That's all they've done so far. You know, written that spiteful little book, Spare, which I admit was quite a good read, and that horrible series on Netflix, which not only branded the royal family slave drivers and racist, it branded the entire British nation slave drivers and racist.
I think you take out of both those things what you want. And actually, some people read that book, myself included, and saw it as a very, very raw, a very, very interesting read about somebody coming to terms with the trauma. If you make a 10-year-old boy or 12-year-old boy walk through the streets of London behind the coffin of his dead mum, he's going to have problems later on in life. Yeah? He's going to have problems later in life.
It's a bit like the fascination of baby reindeer. He has mental illness on display.
I blame
I think that ultimately they are reaping what they sow now. They need to pull that institution into the 21st century and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that's what he's trying to do.
That's enough. But I did enjoy it. I agree with you.
I mean, out of all those pages, I mean, people, as I say, people take out of that book what they want to take out. And if you wanted to take out Prince Harry's frostbitten todger out of it and revel in that, then good luck to you.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot more in
that.
What
did you take out of it?
I thought it was a really, really brave read, and I was amazed at just how he was treated and how little aftercare he had when he found out that his mum had died. I found it quite moving.
Moving?
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving.
That's a criticism of it. It's so many pages. Too many pages in that book.
Listen, they are a mental, mad family. The institution is bonkers. When the Queen couldn't turn up to open Parliament, she sent her hat. Her hat went in a car, sat next to Prince Charles.
I thought that was Charles.
No. Prince Charles sat next to the Queen's hat.
Who did the speech then? Charles or the hat?
It's a crown, but it's basically a hat.
Remember, by the way, do you remember when he did that? He really ballsed up the speech.
He sat next to a hat on a chair and read out a speech that had been written for him by somebody else that his mum was supposed to read out. That is weird traditions.
Yes, but this is
that's
why
not their fault, though,
it.
is it?
But this is why everyone loves our royal family, because of the weird traditions. We get rid of this, we homogenise it and turn into the sort of American version of like easy reading. This is like, we're going to repeat the same like 15 minutes of television for an hour with an advert break in the middle because you're all too stupid to actually get what's going on. This is why they actually like the king sitting next to a hat and reading stuff and black.
I won't have that said about Americans.
They probably think it's a member of BLM. I mean, you know, that's why they love our traditions, because we have them. What do they have? Cheese in a tube.
No, it's called Primula, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
No, I won't have that about Americans. I mean, they're fascinated by our royal family. And actually, as I always used to say to JJ, you know, having lived there for the best part of a decade, Americans are far more politically engaged. I found them to be generally very intelligent, far better informed than British people, to be honest with you. You know, they get a bad press, they really do. JJ used to say they're just a bunch of cowboy hat-wearing morons. That is not fair.
Well, it's not fair, but it's not far from the truth.
Don't you start.
Only in America could there a race between two octogenarians, one of whom is in court.
Two octogenarians? I think you'll find it's one. Although maths was never your strong subject.
Okay,
right?
Two near octogenarians. One is an octogenarian, one's pushing it. Both of whom have very dodgy
There's
faculties.
another candidate, he's got a worm in his brain. That's Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, great. Sort of the cream of the crop.
He's my favourite candidate.
Ultimately, though, to go back to the royal family and go back, I think the royal family are great. I'm surprised myself when the Queen died. I didn't realise what a royalist I was. because I'd prefer to have a family that had gone through years of tradition than a family that had bought their way. I wouldn't want the Blairs, just like I wouldn't want the Kennedys, the Trumps, the Bushes,
I agree with that.
or whatever.
One of the reasons, one thing that exhibits how jealous the Americans are of us having a royal family is they had to come up with the Kardashians, who are made on an operating table to look
Queen
like sex
Kim,
dolls.
because
and then stick cameras in their existence.
Because the Brits...
You've got the real thing.
The Brits are obsessed with class, whereas the Americans are obsessed with business and money.
That's why
therefore,
Americans don't have class systems.
because business and money wins outright. But to go back
I'm obsessed
to,
with money.
But,
We're all obsessed
but
with
to
money.
go back to
Why
Harry,
would you accuse just Americans of being obsessed with money? Everyone's obsessed with money.
I'm not just the Americans, but the Americans, that trumps the class system. And I didn't mean to
use the word Trump loosely, yeah.
You did that.
But to go back to Harry and Meghan as well, you know, they are carving out a living, and whatever they do is they're always going to be under the spotlight. And I think that it's unfair for us to try and write the script that we want Harry to follow. We want to see him go on bended knee, apologise to the nation, and hug his dad. That's not going to happen. Get over it.
As I said, when the king got tough this week, and make no mistake, this was the most astonishing royal snub of all time. It really, really was. And when he did that, a nation rejoiced. Brits all over the country went, thank God he's done what we wanted him to do for the last 3 years, right, Alex?
I'll tell you what's made my heart sing. They've gone on this pseudo tour of Nigeria, haven't they? Now, I
think it's a real tour.
It's not. I spent a couple of weeks in Nigeria myself during the Nigerian elections.
Well, then let's bow to your expertise.
Thank you. You must.
Yeah.
I was in the Hilton.
More expert than us.
Yeah. I was in the Hilton Abuja, which is where Harry and Meghan have gone to stay, being put up in their presidential suite. All I can say is room service jollof rice, really good. The nightclub underneath, Harry's going to have a good time there. But if it was good enough for me, they've very much fallen from grace, is all I can say.
Yeah. I mean,
this isn't a royal tour. They're in the Hilton Abuja.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So,
and also, you know, as I say, he was not offered a royal residence when he came here. He had to stay in a hotel.
Oh, what happened there? Get them bins back on, Kev.
What just happened?
There you are.
That's a bit weird, isn't it?
We love weird.
He had to stay in a sort of cheapo hotel in East London.
he prefers to stay there. Do you remember
It
when
doesn't.
remember when
He does not.
when he turned up for the court case? He caught everybody unawares. Nobody knew he was turning up for that court case in person. He has found out that if he tells people what he's doing in advance, it gets leaked. He does not trust anybody. He would prefer to make his
just
own...
like the royal family don't trust him.
He would
It's
prefer to make
basically-
his own plans and do stuff like that. Now,
do you know-
think as well, if he stayed in sort of a royal palace, you would all be accusing him of leeching. He's
It's
staying
what he
in a
wants.
posh hotel in Nigeria, and now, he's fallen from grace. It's not quite good enough. He can't get it right.
Use the word
He
posh
can't get
a
it
bit
right.
loosely
He
there.
cannot get it right in your eyes when you're always looking for something to attack them
Yeah,
for.
look, if you want to save some money, if you're trying to get a message out and you're thinking maybe I'll put a front page advert in the Sun, it's going to cost me a fair few grand for that to get the message out. I know how to save the money. Tell Harry and Meghan, and they'll tell everyone they've ever met. They are not trusted by the royal family. That's half the reason that the king refused to see him, because if he'd have seen him on this flying visit, then Harry would have sung it from the rooftop.
All I can say is they've gone to the right place if they want to expand their cohort of fake royals, because Nigeria is flush with people who claim to be members of the royal family.
Americans, Nigerians, is there no end to your xenophobia?
There isn't, actually. Hey, listen, very energised discussion. We're going to go to a bad ad.
13 ingredients? That's more people than I invited to the party. Unless Denise brings Gary. Ugh, Gary, with his short shorts. White corn, vegetable oil, and salt. Yeah. 3 ingredients is good.
Well, Sarah Bernhardt, Laurence Olivier, eat your heart out. That is an actress.
Hey, listen, we all have to
I've
start
never
somewhere.
seen that one
We all have to
before.
start somewhere. Well, now that you've seen it, lay into her.
She didn't even voice that part. That's not her voice. All she had to do was sit, look at a packet and go,
That was a joke. I didn't mean to attack her for just doing an advert for the voiceover.
No.
That's where we are now.
You're right,
That is-
Simon.
That is where we are now.
Word.
That is where we are now. We can look at an ad that's probably 20 years old and still attack her. That's how mental and
No,
manic it's got.
I'm not going to attack you. You're quite right. Every actress has to start somewhere, and she started with that rather sordid ad. But in fairness, as a launchpad, she soon rose up to the dizzy heights of that shit cable show Suits.
Which made her a millionaire, which is syndicated in
Well,
lots
why is
more
she
countries.
flogging jam now then if she's a millionaire?
Listen, she was a self-made millionaire, something that many of the royal family weren't before she met Harry.
Kev, can I just say that she was on the thing against ultra-processed foods. Back in that advert, she saw the number of ingredients. She was like, no way. I don't know what's in that bottle of pop in the trolley next to her.
Yeah.
I mean, aspartame and child's tears or something.
Well, you know what her next job after that was? That she was a high-heeled hostess for the American version of Deal or No Deal.
Hey, listen, we all started
Americans, by
somewhere.
the way, we had it as well.
We all started somewhere. So was Jerry Halliwell. She did the Turkish deal.
Look
No
where
Deal.
she ended up.
Yeah,
Difference is, Kevin,
We're
I
going to
don't
go to
pretend
a real
be
break,
royalty.
folks. Hold these thoughts. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back to the greatest show ever made, hosted by me, Kevin O'Sullivan, and a couple of losers over here. My new sidekick forever, Simon London. Well, I'm thinking about firing him, actually, after his performance so far, and the excellent Alex Phillips. No, actually, welcome aboard, Simon. It's great.
Thank you very much.
You're here
What you get if you order JJ on Wish.
I said, well, why are we having to have Simon London? What's in his favour? They said, well, he's cheap and he's available. Here are a few of my thoughts on Donald Trump. Ready? Let's go. Let us pray for American justice as it dies a sad death in a New York court where a former Republican president is enduring a Democrat show trial just to humiliate and undermine him. You may love Donald Trump, you may hate him, you may even not give a damn about him, but does he deserve this grotesque Manhattan courtroom drama as it unfolds in all its tawdry horror? Is it right that a candidate for the presidency is banned from campaigning while he fights trumped-up charges of falsifying business accounts to disguise a $130,000 hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels and organising the cover-up to influence the result of the 2016 election? Is it right that a clearly hostile judge slaps a gag order on the Donald, which, hilariously, he ignores every single day? Is it right that Democrat District Attorney Alvin Bragg, elected on a Get Trump ticket, is allowed to pursue this shamelessly political circus of lawfare cruelty? More and more upstanding Americans are concluding that the answers to these three key questions are no, no, and no. And they are gravitating towards what they see as the orange victim of legal corruption. It's hard to feel sorry for a bombastic, blustering billionaire with an ego the size of Jupiter. But watching him squirm while, for once in her low life, Pawnee Stormy told her sordid story of sex and spanking for free, you had to feel for the guy. Her excruciating account of their lurid liaison in a Lake Tahoe hotel room, which Trump denies, was entirely unnecessary to the case. Even Judge Juan Merchan, whose naked antipathy towards the hapless defendant is an ongoing disgrace, begged Ms. Daniels to cut down on the dirty details. The whole embarrassing spectacle was a blatant Democrat ruse to diminish Donald in the minds of the voters. But here's the thing. Biden's underhand tactics are spectacularly backfiring. Having enjoyed the privilege of residing in God's own country for 10 terrific years, there's one thing I know about American people. They have a firm belief in decency and fairness, and this shocking shambles of a shabby show trial is simply not fair. It's a travesty of justice. That's why even Trump's enemies look set to back him all the way to the White House. If Trump is found guilty, it will probably gain him more support. And make no mistake, after Judge Juan threatened him with jail for constantly breaking his gormless gag order, Donald quite fancies a sensational spell behind bars, because when that enshrines his mega victim status, it's next stop the Oval Office. Add to that the fact that his living fossil rival, Sleepy Joe, is at least 152, but seems older, and America's great cities are heading for lawless rack and ruin. And I believe that Donald Trump is in pole position to emerge from the theatrical trial that shames America to become the next president of the United States. And when he does, it will damn well serve the Democrats right. It will, won't it, Alex?
Well, yeah, I mean, what is going on in America? Well, I mean, one of them is dead. He's basically taxidermy on casters being rolled out. When you look at old video footage of Joe Biden, the thing now, at the very least, he's pumped full of chemicals and preservatives to make him still look and function like a non-rotting corpse. Yeah, exactly. And then the other one, I mean, I quite like Donald Trump, and you know, that's what we have on the right wing, and I like the right wing. I mean, could do better. And then the one who could be a contender is a conspiracy theorist with a worm in his head. I mean, when you look at America and go like, you know, what is going on with this country? It's the cartoonish, almost make-believe Marvel comic book of this presidential campaign.
Well, the thing is, though, Simon, whether you like Trump or not...
And I hate him.
Of course you do, yeah, right on, man. This is a shambles. This is a show trial. This is a seriously corrupt slice of American justice, and Americans realise it. You know, Alvin Bragg was elected. He campaigned on an I'll get Donald Trump ticket.
Basically, that's like campaigning on an anti-corruption ticket. Trump is the most corrupt president, the most corrupt politician. Corrupt politician that America has.
Hunter Biden, the Biden cartel.
They still haven't managed to pen anything on Joe Biden through Hunter.
That's because he claimed senility in his defence. It's hardly endorsing.
Trump, whose organisations are fraudulent. This is a man who bought a portrait of himself in a charity that was supposed to go to help young children. Before we even start, he's a convicted sex pest.
He's not.
Wait
a minute. For the lawyers, he is not a convicted sex pest. That's not true, Simon.
Well,
he's not convicted of anything.
Well, he lost the case.
No.
He's
lost not
the
a
case.
convicted sex pest. That's ridiculous.
I mean, come on. In terms of like the
what do you think of this trial, then? You think it's a shining...
No, I think it's right. I think it's right that he's been brought to book.
Why?
He's a corrupt...
Hush money is not illegal.
He is a corrupt... It is if you're...
No, it isn't.
The money that he paid, it's not about hush money. Hush money is the red herring. That's what you guys do. You chase the red herring. What it's about is falsifying records when he's campaigning.
You have
to declare your campaign money, and that's what he hasn't done.
Yeah.
The law needs to be applied to everybody. It doesn't matter how famous you are or how rich you are. Trump has got away with dodging the law.
Serious, aren't you?
Trump has got away with dodging the law year after year.
Look. You have a serious case of Trump derangement syndrome to the extent that you actually believe he's been convicted of sex offences. That is deranged.
All I can say is
it's deranged, mate. He hasn't been convicted of sex offences.
This is the 21st century, OK? And so you've got the fossil whose son, Hunter Biden, actually has videos of, I don't know, looking up a kaleidoscope of a woman's while taking drugs and having suitcases of money. Donald Trump, I don't know, peed upon by someone. Emmanuel Macron shagging his teacher at the age of 15. It's just the 21st century.
Not illegal in France.
It's
not illegal in France.
Listen, I don't know where you guys get off defending a guy who stands up and says, I want a Muslim ban. If you said I want a Jewish ban, if he said I want a Jewish ban, or I want a women ban, or I want a black ban, and then facilitates an insurrection, the last political leader who did that was Adolf Hitler. He wanted to ban a certain minority, and then he led the Munich Putsch. History repeating itself, and everyone's going, yeah.
Okay,
Trump,
all right,
Simon.
Okay, Alex, is Trump the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler, or would you think that's possibly a slightly extreme allegation?
Adolf Hitler was a socialist and a vegetarian, and basically the same people who are setting up encampments on American university campuses. Let's not forget.
Every time I see a Make
Nazism
America
started with the woke left of old.
Every time I see one of those red and white hats, Make America Great Again, I believe in 20 years' time we'll look back and they will be the swastikas of today.
I've got one of those hats.
Obama was the one.
It's a swastika.
I got one of those hats.
It's a modern day
I got one of those
swastika.
hats.
The one
Well
who had
done.
the Muslim ban.
It's a
Obama
swastika.
was
You
the
know what
one
I
who
do?
put
You know what I
kids in
do?
cages.
Hang on a second, lads. What I do is, whenever I'm feeling a little bored, I get, I live in fashionable Hampstead in North London, full of millionaire socialists. So I put the hat on and walk up and down Hampstead High Street.
It's a swastika.
It makes you the centre of attention.
It makes my skin crawl.
bet.
It's a modern day swastika. Trump.
It's the opposite.
This is
Trump derangement syndrome.
This is not a democratic.
Do you know what,
plot.
mate? You know what?
This is justice. This is the chickens coming home to roost.
This trial will propel him to the White House because Americans do not like this kind of victimization, and a lot of people who didn't formally support him.
Was the rich white guy victimised?
They don't like it. He is being victimised.
He's not being
He's going to win the fucking election.
I've got a
He's
common
going to
sense-
walk it.
I've got a common sense question. Other than Trump saying build a wall to basically close America's
Good
borders
idea.
to people trying to get into the country.
Good idea.
Other than that, why is he a racist?
Well, he asked for the Central 5 kids who didn't commit that rape in Central Park in the 80s. He took out a full-page ad in the paper asking for them to have the death penalty. He also
doesn't make him a racist.
He also.
Why does that make him a racist?
On justice.
He also, as a landlord, he was.
What do you think?
incredibly-
Hang on a second. What do you think? If he's such a racist, what is he appealing to more and more blacks and Hispanics in America? He's getting a real backing from those communities. Why do you think that is?
I think that there may be a lack of education.
Oh,
That's
racist.
That's racist.
I
That's
think there may
racist.
be a lack of education around people who you believe. It's kind of like a man brings out a book about his life and we talk about his todger. We don't get the full picture. They're not being given the full picture. Trump is a cancer in American society that needs to be cut out.
Well, get used to it, mate, because he's going to be the next president. I have a theory, Alex. Everybody say it's going to be, very, very close, going to go right to the wire. I have a feeling, I've said this a few times on air, I'll probably be wrong, but I have a suspicion, let me put it that way, that Trump might achieve a landslide victory. I have not spoken to a single American who says they like Biden.
What if, here's an idea, what if Donald Trump ends up behind bars, Joe Biden is dead, or proven dead, because he probably already is, and so as a result, there's just an absolute vacancy. At that point, do they appoint Lord Spadeface of Sheeping Norton, our very own David Cameron, unelected, to swoop in and save
He'd be the president, no doubt. No doubt, he loves it.
What's really weird here is you're talking about it in jokey terms. He could be the leader of the free world, and ultimately,
he wasn't a bad president.
The person who is right now wets himself.
He wasn't a bad
doesn't know his own
president.
name.
He was impeached twice. What's your yardstick for good?
Impeached
George
is just...
George Biden.
Yeah,
Joe Biden's
impeached.
dead.
Wasn't Biden impeached as well?
No.
Well, this will be the
Just
fate.
like Donald isn't a sex pest.
Impeached is just an opposition politician saying this guy should be brought
twice, Kevin. Twice, Kevin. And he's
not successfully.
He's also managed to single-handedly.
And did these impeachments result in him being kicked out of the Oval
No,
Office?
because of the
because they
partisan.
failed. That's
because of the
why.
partisan.
They failed.
Of
Do you
the
know what?
party.
failed.
Americans are just crying out for us to go back and take
What
back
he has done,
control.
what
What they need is a good bit of
What he has
British
done, no,
colonialism.
I need to say this. What he has
to
done is
sort
he
them
has
out.
undermined the electoral process with all this saying that the election
It's
is
a bit
robbed.
like this trial in New York.
No, he deserves
That
this
is
trial.
undermining the electoral
He deserves
process.
this trial. Everything he's done.
What do you think that show trial does? That undermines
So
the
what
electoral
is-
process.
so
that undermines American
the
justice
classified
and democracy.
the classified documents he was hiding. When that
Oh
trial
yeah,
comes
they just
up,
dropped that
is
fucking
that a show?
case.
Is that a show?
They've dropped
trial?
that case.
They haven't
Joe
dropped
Biden
all
was
of
There,
it.
they
also
said
hiding-
they will
Joe
not
Biden-
return to
Joe
it.
Biden
It's
was
over.
also hiding
You've got to get if you're going to be on this show,
trials.
this show is a show of record. It's a program of record. You've got to get your facts right.
Can I say, Joe Biden was also hiding classified files, and his excuse
And
was,
returned
I
them
don't
straight away.
remember.
He returned them straight
No,
away.
he didn't. They were next to his old Chevrolet.
He returned them straight
no,
away.
No. As Alex quite rightly says, he got off that by saying, "I'm sorry about that. I'm a bit senile."
I don't even remember my own name most
Whereas
of the time.
Trump hid them. hid them 3
I'd
times.
rather-
Case is dead.
Can I say,
No,
I
but
would
he
rather
hid them.
have someone
Case
who
is
remembers
dead.
where they
You
hid
have
the
got
file
Trump
than who
derangement.
I
wets
do not
himself
have
and has
Trump
no
derangement.
idea.
You are basically sleepwalking into letting...
Listen, let me just say something. This sort of thing, oh my God, this monster can't be the president. He did it once before and he did it perfectly well. So, fearing this guy taking over again, what is the problem?
He's terrible. He was a terrible president.
In your view,
in my view,
Ever
it's
since
terrible.
that
what do you think of
fossil-
Biden then?
Ever since that sort
Listen,
of incontinent
hang on, let's
fossil
get
took
you
over.
on Biden.
The economic miracle that Biden's presiding over is doing...
Have you
the
been
Americans,
to America
the
lately?
Americans...
Have you been to New York? Have you been to Los Angeles? Have you been to San Francisco? Have you been to all the big cities? They are falling apart at the seams in a mass of law and order disintegration.
But those are federal government. That's federal governments as well.
They're no longer cities, they're tent cities. They're
Fed-
full of
All I can
homeless
say
people.
is the beardy weirdies and that beady-eyed bastard in Russia wouldn't be trying their hand if Trump was president.
Exactly. Think of
Only because
the
there's
wars.
a-
Think of the
only be-
wars that didn't happen when Trump was the president. Now, this is not necessarily high praise for Trump. What it is the beauty of Trump is he's entirely unpredictable. And there's nothing world leaders fear more, just like Putin, just like Xi Jinping, than unpredictable world leaders. And therefore, they were frightened of Trump, and therefore, they didn't start any wars.
So taking your
under it.
logic... To
Right,
its-
Alex?
So,
Right?
Yeah,
so
you've
taking
gotta
your
fight fire
logic
with
to its
fire.
natural conclusion... He's entirely unpredictable.
Yeah.
He's in charge of the nuclear codes.
Yeah.
That's something we should all...
That's
something we should all feel great
Of
about.
course, when he was president last time, he was always pressing the button, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Listen,
but can I
he
just
wanted
say...
What
to
wars
nuke-
did he start?
He wanted to nuke. He had to be talked down from... He had to be
Tell
talked
us
down.
about the
I
peace he achieved in the Middle East.
I have friends who work
Really?
in the military. I know. You will be one of them one day. You just got to try a bit harder.
Yeah. You have to fill out the application form.
Exactly, and it's a long form. You know, I've got people who work in intelligence and work in the military selling weapons and assets, and they said it's been really rubbish under Donald Trump because they didn't get to do anything. Under Biden, they've been coining it. And when it comes to the Abraham Accords, look, admittedly, he was nothing to do with that. The story goes that Jared Kushner set it all up. Here's the brains behind the operation. And when Donald Trump was reading the script...
He went, this is great.
Yeah, reading the script, the pre-recorded script he had to say to Saudi Arabia about the Accords, he went, wow, did we really just do this? This is amazing. I've just created world peace.
Yeah.
The point is, he actually did. And then what happened? Biden comes in and Iran goes, don't like peace in the Middle East.
Well, OK, so listen, while the men in white coats come to deal with Simon's Trump derangement syndrome and Alex calms down, we're going to watch a bad ad.
You probably thought this deer was alive, and this coyote was alive, and this pheasant was alive. Nope, they're not. They're dead. They've been taxidermized by Chuck Testa. Ojai Valley Taxidermy. I specialize in the most lifelike dead animals anywhere, period.
Look at that antelope driving a car.
No, it's just Chuck Testa. Call Chuck Testa for the most lifelike dead animals around, period.
It's been taxidermized.
Can I just say,
taxidermized.
the mystery of Joe Biden is now solved. He's been down Chuck Testa.
Chuck Testa.
And, you know, he's
when
at
he
remote
said-
control now.
When he
He's a drone.
said, you probably thought these animals were alive. Not for a second, mate.
Look at the
at
hell
all.
of
They look
driving.
like statues.
Completely, as he was holding half an antelope, and he looked at for a minute like Mr. Tumnus,
Yeah.
like half antelope, half human.
You know what I think's really weird? Those people who, you know, have a beloved dog or cat, and then when they die, they get them, as Chuck would say, taxidermized. You know, they get them stuffed and put them in the living room. No, thanks very much. Anyway, we're going to go to a real break now. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
There you are. Welcome back. Alex is just messaging her friends because we're keeping her too long. She's got to get down to the pub. She was already pissed when she got here. Now she's going to get more pissed. So it's Friday, folks. That's when we're filming. And I'm with the eminently, well, I think he's sober, Simon London. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. This is What Just Happened. And we're going to talk now about a problem, a scourge, if you like, that is affecting both America and Britain. It's a transatlantic problem. That is these campus camps, protest camps, which I think many of which are kind of anti-Semitic, but they're certainly violently pro-Palestine. And I'm wondering what's going on here. It's almost like a contagious disease, isn't it? So in Britain, of course, we saw Columbia. By the way, Columbia University in New York, one of their best universities, this camp rose up. We saw those incredible scenes both at Columbia and UCLA over in Los Angeles of the police fighting with the students and all that. But at Columbia, they arrested more than 300 of these protesters, these campus camps, these committed students. Guess what? More than half of them were not students. They were professional agitators. This is what I think is the problem. So we've got over here, we started at Newcastle University, at Manchester. Now it's spread to our prestige universities, those madhouses of Oxford and Cambridge. Why have they all got the same coloured tents? Who's paying for them, do you think? What are your theories?
It's not even theories. This is the truth, Kev. This is the unvarnished truth, that these protests are not just choreographed, corralled and coordinated by pretty unwholesome characters connected to terrorist organisations and hostile states, but they are infiltrated by paid-for activists. The words that they use, the chants that they make is basically all decided at some sort of horrible bunker over in Iran. And the rest of them are basically just glued to TikTok, which is essentially a weapon of grey zone warfare, being brainwashed. And so we need to crack down on this. And actually in the UK, when you look at the percentage of students who go to Oxford or Cambridge or Leeds or Manchester involved in these protests here, most of them are blimmin' Americans. Our own Securities Minister, Tom Tugendhat, a man I greatly admire, has said, revoke their student visas, send them back from whence they came. These are not natural grassroots organics. We feel the plight of the Gazans being bombed. This is essentially pawns in a big geopolitical game, and the world needs to wake up.
Simon, let me tell you a fact, pop fact. So all over America, just as all over Britain, they've got these campus protest camps, all pro-Palestine. It's strange. No pro-Israel, no release the hostages, none of those. Why is that, I wonder? There's one university, the University of Florida, where there are no campus camps. You know why? Because the dean said, you pitch a tent on my ground, on this university, you will be instantly expelled. So why don't all universities do that? Because, of course, mostly the academics support these little...
Isn't it something to do as well with sort of the First Amendment, the right to free speech as well?
You haven't got a right to pitch a tent where you're not allowed to.
But just to go back, I mean, Alex, did you say that this is all being organised from Iran?
Yes.
Are you high?
No.
Yeah. You think it's all being organised by Iran to, what, you see it as a sort of a way of kind of...
It's an organised...
infiltrating...
This is organised, Simon. This is organised.
But from Iran?
Yes. No, I mean, look, I wouldn't account for 100% of it, but yes, I actually did this on my programme earlier today. Watch mine. You know, I actually spoke to security experts. I spoke to a guy who was a Rear Admiral of the US Navy, who was Deputy Intelligence to the Pentagon. I spoke to a security expert here in the UK. You can hear it from even Rishi Sunak himself, stood by a podium and talked about our own pro-Palestine marches have been infiltrated by groups connected to hostile regimes and terrorist organisations. Look, you have to look at the bigger playbook that's going on. But yes, very little activism that happens in the 21st century happens spontaneously and spreads so virulently that it doesn't have the dark hand of state-abetted sophistication behind it.
So like Russia interfering in the Brexit elections?
Yeah.
Well, Russia interfering in everything, Iran interfering in everything, China interfering in everything.
Okay.
It's funny, actually, that back then, when Brexit and Trump couldn't be explained, it was all the work of a hostile foreign state. All of a sudden now, it's these sort of rabidly anti-Semitic protesters cheering on a terrorist organisation in the Middle East. And that's organic, and we're not questioning that.
Why is it
so
never...
what I'm saying is, yes, this is choreographed, this is created by a hostile regime, and that regime is called Iran.
Yeah, I think that, listen, there may...
Along with Russia,
there may or
with
may
China.
not be a kernel of truth in that. I think, though, that what we are seeing, generally, is what young people do, is what young students do. They protest. They've been doing it since students at the beginning of...
When I was a student, I didn't.
I did. When I was a student, I marched
down the pub.
I marched against the poll tax, I marched against grants, I marched against Thatcher.
And in the Cold War...
You marched for anything?
Yes, I think so. I marched for freedom.
And in the Cold War, who had infiltrated
the freedom of Nelson Mandela.
In the Cold War, who infiltrated
write
the
that song
CND,
as
the
well?
Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament? Russia. Who infiltrated the Green Movement? Russia. Who's infiltrating these pro-Palestine protests now? Iran. I mean, look, throughout history, activism has been infiltrated by ne'er-do-wells who use it as a tool against our countries. The point now is actually this is on steroids. They've got the use of social media. And you've now got a whole class of mainstream media and politicians who refuse to see this. And even when it's said out loud by the intelligence organisations, they're so worried about their own TikTok hits and their own Twitter popularity.
So wait there. So let's.
they will
Hang on a
just
second, hang
rush
on.
over this
Excuse me.
fact.
Hello, I'm here as well.
Come on then. Let's hear.
Why do you think all these camps, all these protests, why are they all pro-Palestine? Why aren't any of them pro-Israel?
I mean, it's sad to
I'll
say
tell you
that
why.
I think.
I'll tell you why. Because they are infested with anti-Semitism. The most worrying thing that's going on in this country, maybe in America as well, but in this country right now, is this explosion of Jew hating, and I am genuinely worried about that.
I think it's very, very. I think we have to be very, very.
Kids think it's fashionable.
I think we have to be very, very careful to equate criticism of Israel as anti-Semitic.
Don't you give me that.
I am gonna.
That
I
is
am
a
gonna
ludicrous
give you,
left-wing trope. No, Simon. I don't want to hear it. It's a ludicrous left-wing trope. Just because I'm critical of Israel doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. Ask any Jew. They say, yes, it does.
No.
It does, mate.
Not every.
Am I right, Alex?
Not every
Look,
Jew
all I would
believes
say
that.
is, there's
not
this
every Jew believes that. I do
Now.
think that it's
But-
fashionable for young students to protest against
what they've
stuff.
done-
And
what-
I do think it's fashionable.
Why don't they protest
What
then
they've
against
done-
Hamas's
No.
continued
I'll
captivity
tell you
of
what they've
those
done.
poor hostages?
and those are great questions. And why don't they go out and protest against Syria? Why don't they protest
Right,
against
I'll tell
Yemen?
you what they've done.
Why don't
I'll
they
tell you what
protest
they've done.
against
Fair
the
enough,
Chinese
I'll
and
tell you
what they're doing
simply
to
what they've done. They have put Israel in the same basket as white privilege. They've said, oh, this is all about colonialism and colonialism's bad. You want to know about colonialism? Where are the Christians in the Middle East where Christianity was born? You want to talk about colonialism? Why are the Christians persecuted? Why are they driven out of Syria, Lebanon, Morocco, the Jews as well? You know, the list goes on and on
I'm
and
not
on.
disagreeing.
You want to talk about real life colonialism? Look at the Arab Muslim world and what they have done to Jewish and Christian populations in the regions that those religions came from.
I'm not disagreeing.
That's real life colonialism happening now.
This is a bigger question. Let's go back to what we're talking about with the students.
Very quickly, we've got to go to break.
I think that students should be allowed to protest. I think, though, that it does need to be policed in a certain way whereby people feel safe on campuses.
Fair enough. But just a quick observation. It's interesting, isn't it? If you go over to America, the police really get stuck in. I mean, UCLA down in California, in LA, it looked like a war zone. It was extraordinary. Over here, what our police do is that their traditional manner of dealing with disturbances, they put on high-vis jackets and they look. You stand there looking at it. Anyway, on that bombshell, we're going to go to a real ad break. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back to the greatest show ever made. That's Simon London. That's Alex Phillips, and I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. And I believe, Alex and I used to do a show together, Crosstalk, very, very successful. And we used to do another show called Kevin Alex in the Morning, where we ran through the stories at breakneck speed. And we achieved a brilliant audience who loved us. Every single one of them loved us.
Yes, I've spoken to him.
Yeah, and I believe we've had some tweets to confirm what I've just said, right?
Yes.
Mean tweets.
Mean tweets. So, this one comes from somebody called Make It Make Sense at P. Durantis. Another so-called journalist on talkTV is Kevin O'Sullivan. He cannot talk properly. Every other word is the worst talk show host ever. He called Tucker Carlson a so-called journalist after his interview with Putin, which had over 100 million viewings. Lol.
Did he? The next one, please.
Woke for life, Tory cash cow. talkTV, good to see your paid idiot, Kevin O'Sullivan, shouting all over the TV that he doesn't trust the police. So vocal was he that dumb sidekick, Alex, complained she had ringing in her ears. Does this represent talkTV's view of the police?
Yes, I do. I do very much. Oh, I see. Anyway, both of those people who sent those tweets, here's a message for you.
Let's jump to Andy Johns.
He can off as well in advance.
Talk TV. Kevin and Alex are a pair of hysterical idiots.
Hey!
Does he mean that we're very funny?
Yeah, he loves us. Yeah,
He does, but not in a good way.
He's actually written, and I don't mean they're funny. So just to answer your question, no.
Well, then he needs to get a better sort of vocabulary.
Suncastle 303 says Kevin O'Sullivan is a stupid.
Oh, he must know me.
Sue Harris at Hottie Harris, Kevin O'Shithouse and Cambridge Analytica liar, Alex Phillips.
Oh, that's my mantra. Yeah, that's mine. Cambridge Analytica liar. I love that one.
Are two of the biggest in Britain.
Yeah. Any more? Any more?
Yeah.
We've achieved a lot of fan mail.
Sue Harris and Hottie Harris goes on to say, did Kevin O'Shithouse just call President Obama a useless president?
Yes, I.
Well, Susan Hayward's jumped in at Posh Pause 7. Talk. Can you get Alex Phillips to stop twiddling with her pen? She seems a nervous wreck.
OK, so I take that. I do twiddle with a pen very enthusiastically.
When you and I together,
I am a pen twiddler.
Used to be you fiddling with your pen and me going like this. With my
Today, I actually drew on my chin.
And Pelagic Joe at Brassneck 2 says, Alex Phillips was the talent in that duo. O'Sullivan is an idiot.
Simon London, what a debut. And Alex Phillips, always a pleasure. Great guests. I've been a great host, I'm sure you agree. We're going to do the same thing, same time, same place, right here on Talk next week. And this has been another episode of What Just Happened. What just happened?